there's one thing we learned from the Wright brothers and all of the years of aerospace engineering that came afterwards, it doesn't matter what your wings look like. Anything can be a wing. This is We Have Concerns. Hi, Jeff Cannata.
Hi, Anthony Carboni.
Hello, concerned citizens. Jeff, they's aliens, baby.
We talked about that last week. We determined they's aliens. Moving on. New topic. Episode.
This is a new topic, and it is a new episode, and it is a new day, baby. And here's what we are talking about. They's aliens. This was sent to us by literally everyone in the world.
Everybody. Yes.
Everybody who's ever listened to an episode of We Have Concerns sent this to us. And thank you.
Thank you
for your diligence. And for your never ending and ever vigilant watch. This is about how octopuses are jerks, and they are aliens.
We've covered this numerous times, and yet there seems to be new evidence emerging all of the time. It seems like, in the years that we've been making the show, you'd think that we would have mined the depths of the octopus's jerkdom, and yet new jerkdom appears all the time. And I feel like we've hit a new high bar for jerkdom with the octopi, right?
Yeah, it's a big one, this one. This I think, if you didn't believe it before, if you were maybe like, listen, animals is animals, and we can't really quantify or qualify how an animal behaves because an animal lives a different life than we do. And so they build their social structures and their actions and their activities in a different way. No.
Yeah, maybe you were thinking, our definition of being a jerk is not necessarily the same definition in the animal kingdom. And then you get this story.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the headline. Everybody all you octopologists out there.
Ooh, the octopologists. Do not care for an octopologist. You're either with us or against us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, AOAB. All octopuses are bad. You've seen it all over the internet. It's one of the biggest acronyms of 2020, and it's true. And I'm tired of people being apologists for octopuses, because here it is. Octopuses observed punching fish, perhaps out of spite, scientists say.
Just to see it happen, just to watch their little fish face when they get punched.
Now, here's why I like that headline, Jeff. This headline is this is a triple clause headline, and it goes places. Okay, number one, octopuses observed punching fish. Fine. Okay.
I mean, I guess
sure. An animal observed hitting another animal. Sure, I guess that happens. Whatever. Comma, perhaps out of spite. Okay, now you've got me interested, right? But isn't that editorializing? Who are you, the reporter, to tell me that these octopuses are perhaps doing it out of spite? Oh, no.
Very good point.
The second comma closes the clause. Back to the main phrase of the sentence. Scientists say, aha.
So there's evidence to your spite claim.
Now, even if you didn't believe the spite beforehand, scientists say it.
I'm not saying, listen, I'm not editorializing.
This isn't me.
I'm not attributing malice to this action. I'm just a reporter reporting what scientists say.
This is simply me reporting the facts as a reporter. And I love that. So here's what's going on. There were some octopuses and fish that were being observed by the University of Lisbon in Portugal, a marine biology team. And they just wanted to see how these animals were cohabitating, coexisting.
Not too well.
Not too well, I guess, but also sort of well, okay? Because what they were doing is they were observing collaborative hunting efforts in which octopuses and fish team up to chase and trap prey together. These are the octopus working with the fish.
Uh-huh.
So they have a group of fish that they will work with in order to trap prey. Now, this in and of itself is very interesting, right? Because we have heard many, many times octopuses not social hunters, not very cooperative, definitely competitive with other octopuses.
Right.
But very interesting that they would cooperatively hunt. Now, this immediately makes me think, as somebody who's not an octopologist and knows that they're jerks, these are not friends. These are not partners. These are henchmen. These are flunkies.
Well, this is what I was thinking. Has anybody asked the fish whether they're working together? You know, maybe phrasing the fish might not choose. You know what I'm saying? It feels like a more of a one-way street here.
Exactly. What do the octopus get out of this when they could just be eating the fish, right? So the deal is, I think these octopuses are keeping these fish around as long as these fish are making themselves useful, right?
Right. Yes.
The moment these fish are not useful, just eat the fish.
Yeah.
Just
these
eat the
octopus
fish.
are using the fish to get better food. And the fish,
yes,
dullards that they are, don't even understand the equation here. They're just, you know, happily serving their master and thinking it's a co-equal partnership. It ain't fish. Wake up, fish.
Wake up, fish. Wake up, fish. The octopus is never going to fuck you. You know what I mean? Elon Mollusk is never going to fuck you, fish.
Mollusk.
Don't apologize for octopus billionaires, okay? They're building their success off the sweat of your brow and off of your backs and your labor. So, you know, the scientists obviously know the way this is working, right? Eduardo Sampaio, who is one of the marine biologists who did this research, says they're known to hunt together, taking advantage of the other's morphology and hunting strategy. And since multiple partners join, it creates a complex network where investment and payoff can be unbalanced, giving rise to partner control mechanisms.
Oh my God, this is some... I mean, I don't want to use this phrasing, but it popped into my head. This is some pimps and hoes shit, right? This is like, do my bidding or I'm going to smack you around? Is that what we're looking at here?
I mean, this is very much, I think of it as like an old school sort of robber baron situation. There's one guy who owns the town and you work for that guy. And if you're not working for that guy, maybe you wind up dead. You know what I mean? Like maybe you're excommunicated. Like, I don't know, maybe bad things happen to you. You don't compete with the guy. So these these partner control mechanisms, right, are basically a way that the octopus seek to establish control and dominance in what is essentially a food free-for-all, right? These fish and these octopus work together to sort of flank the prey. And once the prey is flanked, these fish start eating, the octopus starts eating, the octopus is like, hey, punch. You're eating too much. You're eating more than your share. You're getting in my way.
Punch.
To this end, the octopus performs a swift, explosive motion with one arm directed at a specific fish partner, which we refer to as punching, which, if I can be honest, Jeff, feels a little condescending on the part of the scientist.
right.
You condescending son of a bitch.
Only they refer to it as punching. It's the scientific
I know what
term.
Punching is. I've seen people get punched.
I've even seen fish get punched.
I know what a punch is.
This is written for the layman. You know, they're trying to dumb it down for a more broad audience, Anthony. So it's not we as scientists, we understand what punching is. But this article,
the idea that this guy is so mixed up he thinks he's a punch scientist and not a marine biologist. Come on. Like, we know what punching is. So in their study, they observed the octopus cyanea and a number of different fish species in the Red Sea, including, and these all sound made up, and I do believe that marine biology might be made up, and that's why he's trying to sound smart about punching. The tail spot squirrelfish, the black tip, and the lyre tail grouper. Yeah, okay.
Each of those have too many words in them to be a fish name, right?
The tail spot squirrelfish, I'm gonna say, is maybe the only one that's real, because that's too dumb.
Seems like the least real to me.
I know, but that's how they get you. Yeah,
that's
the tail
just
spot
like a
squirrelfish.
randomized series of words that are all stuck together.
Tail spot squirrelfish was my favorite Charles Dickens novel.
Yeah, the story of tail spot squirrelfish.
I was born a young and poor man. I was born a man, not a boy. So they took multiple observations of different octopuses in different locations, and what they say is that the punching serves a concrete purpose in interspecific interactions. So actively punching a fish partner entails a small energetic cost for the actor, i.e. the octopus, and simultaneously imposes a cost on the targeted fish partner. You're explaining that punching hurts.
Punching, good for puncher, bad for punchy is basically the breakdown of that one.
It's not entirely good for the puncher because it makes the puncher a little more tied.
Yeah, it's
a more tie.
It's a tiny exertion of force. The thing that these scientists did not realize, though, or did not take into account, is both the first and second rule of Octopus Fight Club. Which is you don't write scientific papers about Octopus Fight Club.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. The octopus was wearing its cornflower blue tie. So why are they punching, Jeff? Well, because they're octopuses and they're garbage. But
they're forcing all these fish to do their bidding through force.
Yes,
by forcing.
They're basically using force to keep the fish in line during hunts, whether it's deterring them from prey, relocating their position in the pack, or even there's a kind of punch that's like, hey, you ain't part of this pack hunt anymore.
Yeah.
I punched you so hard, you're supposed to go away.
Honestly, this makes me think I'm never in advocating or even, I condemn wholeheartedly any kind of cruelty to animals. However, there are hundreds of years of human history where this is basically how we treated dogs, right? Where it's like you smack them to teach them how to do stuff. And it feels like basically this is an octopus, which is a very intelligent creature, probably an alien, around a bunch of really dumb creatures. And it's a lot like a human just like smacking a dog and going, no, don't do that. Keep doing the thing I want you to do. Right?
Yeah, I mean that's essentially it. These octopus are training these fish, but here's the thing. So like, there are reasons for this punching, right? Like it's the way you're doing this, the way you're explaining it. It's sort of like the training of a hunting dog or something, right?
That's how it reads to me. But am I wrong?
Yeah. Potentially, because the punching doesn't always seem to have an immediate practical reason. On a couple occasions.
This is where the out of spite comes from the headline.
Yeah. So like there were a few occasions where the researchers saw the punching take place when there was nothing immediately going on that would have required the punching. Sometimes the fish weren't even interacting with the octopus at that moment.
Got too close.
There was no prey. The fish was just kind of chilling. And so in these cases, according to the researchers, two different theoretical scenarios are possible. In the first one, benefits are disregarded entirely by the octopus, and punching is a spiteful behavior used simply to impose a random cost on the fish.
That's scenario one. Octopus is a jerk.
Yeah. Scenario one. Listen, we were both sitting in the back seat, and the fish didn't do anything, and I just felt like it needed to be hit. I was bored.
I was bored, and the fish was there, and I can hit it.
The fish was there. And it just something about the fish being there was annoying me. It wasn't doing anything annoying, but I decided that I was tired of the fish being around. In the other theoretical scenario, punching may be a form of aggression with delayed benefits, where the octopus pays a small cost to impose a heavier one on the misbehaving partner in an effort to promote collaborative behavior in the following interaction. So basically, you didn't do anything wrong, but I'm just making sure you still remember.
This is an abusive dad octopus. This is it's gonna hurt me more than it hurts you.
Yeah, this
octopus.
is the tough love octopus. This is the, well, that's what my dad did to me.
Yeah.
And so I'm doing it to you.
Octo dad did to me.
Octo dad would never do that. Octo dad would never. So yeah, we don't know for sure why octopuses are randomly punching fish.
They're giant assholes. That's why. Yeah, it's clear.
They just might have like a serious attitude, according to this paper. They might just be like real freaking jerks.
They're loners. They're down in the bottom of the sea, and they're surrounded by idiots. You know, from their perspective, right?
Yeah,
they are so intellectually superior to literally every other species they come into contact with, and they never come into contact with other octopi. So
it's just every movie where the city octopus has to move to the country, and the country fish just seems so dumb, and the octopus has such a smug attitude. But then I'll tell you what, in the end,
he learns his lesson.
Maybe he learns a little something about himself. These octopus won't, but in the movie.
No. In the movie, the octopus would definitely come to a conclusion that perhaps, there was something to learn from the idiot fish.
Yeah, maybe they would even find love, and maybe the fish that they started dating would even secretly be Santa Claus, depending on what network the movie was on. I don't know.
And then there's that climactic scene where they shoot their arm out for a punch and then relax their little tentacle into a hug.
Oh, that's a good shot. That's a good shot. I can see that like in a medium close. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's real good. So the researchers sort of end everything by saying detailed qualitative analyses of these multi-specific hunting events can explore several other ecological questions. So why are we looking to see why these octopuses are punching? The answer is they're looking to see if there is a potential privilege existence of privilege that such as the potential existence of privileged relationships between some octopuses and fish partners, whether there's like sort of not just a hunting pecking order, right? But a predator-prey pecking order, but a social pecking order, right. And how are those individual dynamics modulated by the network of social interactions? Like, as much as we're saying like, what a bunch of dicks, animals don't have as many ways to communicate as we do, and physical communication, especially under the ocean, where not only do they not have verbal, they have very little vocal or auditory. They can't communicate in that way.
Right. Yeah.
So a physical communication between undersea animals is probably a very default form of communication.
All they understand, they only have two things they understand: the right and the left. You know what I'm saying? or in their case, 8 things they understand.
The far left, the middle left, the immediate left, the direct left, the direct right, the immediate right. Octopuses are...
I want to introduce you to my friends. Truth and consequences and justice and the right and
honesty and values and everyone instead of just having love and hate, it's like tattooed on their knuckles. It's just like love, hate, indifference, sadness.
It's an entire sentence.
Yeah. Anyway, octopuses are still garbage. They're still garbage.
Have you had a chance to see My Octopus Teacher on Netflix?
No, tell me more.
It's incredible. It's this documentary about a dude that just started free diving, which is basically like diving without any air tanks.
Yeah.
And he created this relationship with an octopus. And I won't even spoil anything that happens, but watch it immediately. I have never been more certain that they's aliens than by watching this. It is, you see some shit in that movie that it's like,
yeah,
how are these even earthbound creatures? It is craziness.
Oh, I definitely have to watch that. I need all the octopus intel I can get. We need to have every single inch on these motherfuckers that we can have.
Yeah.
That's
now that we know
the way
that they're
it
punching. I mean, you talked about why the scientists are studying why they're punching. I think the answer is clear. It's so we know how to defend ourselves. You know, if they're punching, we have to understand that. You know, they're gonna eventually come onto land and they're gonna start punching. And what are we gonna do about it? You know, that's the question.
Nothing, because they can throw 8 punches in the time it takes us to throw, 2.
Yeah. It's true.
And it's not. And listen, they have active camouflage. We've talked about all this. Listen, if you are somebody who listens to this show, I hope at the very least over the years, we have given you the tools you need to eventually face an octopus.
Or at least understand what's coming at you when you inevitably are defeated by an octopus. You know?
Yeah, we want you to be as informed as possible. And if you think that has been valuable, we hope that you will check out our Patreon, patreon.com/wehaveconcerns. You know, we're hunting down this information. We're making it available to the public.
Yeah.
We're saving
important
lives.
Work.
We think we're saving lives.
I mean, the proof will be in the punches, I think is the phrase. And if you find value in that, and how could you not? Who else is doing this? Where else can you find this kind of information consolidated for
one
listening?
documentary on Netflix? That's it.
Sure, there's that. Sure, of course, there's that documentary that is extremely well made and hugely successful and interesting. But we also have a podcast where we talk about it. And we need your support. Go to patreon.com/wehaveconcerns. We're not asking for your money for nothing. We give something back in return. We've got extra audio, bonus episodes. We've got a Discord of like-minded folks who hang out. $1 a month. $1 a month is all it takes to get access to that Discord where you can hang out with cool folks. All the folks who are on the ground, doing the work, finding out about the octopuses.
Patreon.com/wehaveconcerns. Save a life.
Save a life. Hey, speaking of saving a life, Anthony, you know, it's a new year. We're starting a new year. And when people start a new year, they tend to start thinking about ways they can improve their lives. They can be healthier. Maybe they can make a resolution to do something, improve their health, live longer, live better, right? That's usually the new year.
Normally, yes. This year is slightly different. It's a little different. I know some immediate ways that I could live better, live healthier, be safer, and be happier. I know some immediate ones. Mitch McConnell being shoved into a giant pencil sharpener made for people. A vaccination. Those are the two big ones that I could think of right now.
Sure, there's that. But let's talk about exercise, shall we?
Oh, sure. Let's talk about exercise. I've certainly been getting enough this year. How about you?
I moved from this chair to the Eaton chair and then back to this chair. So I'm doing real good.
Same.
Well, there's a
Sometimes
new
I
study.
go from laying to reclining. And then from reclining to sitting up straight, but with my head in my hands. So you get, you get the full range of motion of those back muscles.
Well, we got a news story that was sent to us from Jeff _Rose.
Hey, the underscore is back, baby.
The underscore doing that work. This was posted on our Discord in the Cool Science News channel on our Discord. Where a lot of the stories that you hear on the show are posted. This is a new study that talks about long life and exercise and the link between the two. For a long time, we've known that people who do some sort of regular exercise tend to live longer than people who don't.
Sure.
Not a surprise there.
Nope.
But the interesting thing about this article to me is about the methodology by which we've determined that. Most studies of this kind of thing are what they call observational studies. It's just looking at a group of people and asking them questions. Hey, how often do you exercise? Hey, what do you tend to do? What kind of life do you lead? And then waiting until they die and going, okay, the people that self-reported living this kind of way, did they die sooner than the people who self-reported living this kind of way?
Yeah. It seems like a very long and inefficient way to do this sort of work, doesn't it?
Yes, but it's also
But also how
not
else
very,
would you do it?
Yeah, it's not very scientific. It's not the kind of, if you set out to make a scientific study, what you would do is you would have a control group that doesn't exercise at all. Then you would have a group that exercises in one way and a group that exercises another way. And then you'd follow them over a long period of time. You'd wait until all of them die.
Yeah.
And you would have the data that you need, right?
And also all of their personal information, and you could take over any of their lives.
Yeah. And their social security numbers and bank accounts.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the study we would make.
That you asked for science.
For science. And you would wait until they die, and then you would publish your paper, and then you'd retire to the Cayman Islands.
God, that's what I would do.
So it turns out that, yes, it's pretty clear that exercise, especially in later part of life, will extend your life.
Part of life where you are.
But that's not true.
You're thinking particularly about your life.
I'm
It's
a
the new
middle-aged
year.
man.
It's the new year, and you're thinking about how you're
Middle.
sort of in your twilight years.
Oh, no. No. Well, it turns out that somebody actually did the new version, the scientific version of the study. Somebody actually went about trying to do a study that's not just an observational study, that is actually a scientific study of longevity and exercise.
How did they do it?
Well, they basically did what I said. And by the way, this is the University of Science and Technology in Trondheim, Norway. So right from the start, we have a problem here.
Anybody who's single in Norway, shout out. Can I get that green card? Hey, Norway.
Yeah.
What up?
Samesies.
Just put it out there, Norway.
I'll divorce my wife. Well,
yeah,
it'll work. It'll be great.
It's gonna be fine, Norway. Just hit me up if there's anybody listening out there from Norway. Shout out to Fjords. You know, shout out to trolls. Shout out to trolls.
Do trolls live in Norway?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of everything I learned from the Epcot ride before they turned it into Frozen.
Oh, Frozen is set in Norway, right? Isn't it? Something like that?
It's set in Arendelle. How dare you?
I wouldn't know. Which one of us has the young children? You decide, ladies and gentlemen. So anyway, already we have a problem with this study because it was with...
Shout out to Jormungandr, the world serpent.
Yeah, Jormungandr, total Norwegian.
Yeah.
Anyway, the problem with this study is that it involves Norwegians, which are like on the world stage, very healthy, and they live a long time. Yeah. So already we have a problem because it's all Norwegians that we're talking about, and they're already like super gods, that live longer than most. This is not, the people that took part in the study. Yeah. Almost 0% obesity rate.
Yeah. Who do we know that's Norse? It would be Thor. It would be it would be Loki. It would be Elsa and Anna.
Yeah.
These are all people in incredibly good shape.
Yes. I mean, have you seen a Thor? Have you seen an Elsa? Svelte. Yeah. Anyway,
Svelte, which is Norwegian for thin.
in Trondheim, Norway. Yeah. These scientists invited literally every septuagenarian that lives in Trondheim to participate in the study. They literally said, everybody 70 and older, get in here. And they got over 1,500 acceptance letters from men and women, Norwegian men and women. Again, almost 0% obesity rate. They had, they're healthier than most 70-year-olds. Some had heart disease, some had cancer and other conditions, but most of them regularly walked or otherwise remained active. So these are not sort of typical Earth humans.
Yeah.
These are the upper end of the healthy Earth humans of 70 years or older. So take this with a grain of salt.
Okay.
The other thing that the scientists, probably because they're Norwegian and have, morals and ethics, they decided it would not be morally appropriate for them to ask a control group to not exercise at all.
Yeah.
They did not want to have a group of people that they said, hey, do not exercise, and we want to see how soon you die.
Well, that's what I was going to ask, right? Like, there's something about like, well, in order to get this control group, or this data that we need, like, some of you are going to have to sit on the couch and eat ho-hos.
Yeah. They did not feel comfortable with that. Like, in a perfect world, or in a perfect study, I guess is the better way to say it.
No, in a perfect world, these people would accept death, that it is their time.
They would just
we need
be
the numbers.
Control group.
We need the numbers that come from your death. Your death is not as important as the line on this graph, and we need you to know that. That's a very American way to run things, not a Norwegian way to run things.
Americans, they'd be like, sweet, I'm in the control group. No exercise for me.
I can't do it. I got to eat these ho-hos is what they told me.
I signed the paper, man.
I get $30 a year for this.
So for the Norwegians, the control group was asked to follow standard activity guidelines, which was basically walk or otherwise remain in motion for a half an hour most days, which is already sort of ahead of the game, right? It's already better than a lot of septuagenarians, especially in America. So already we're a little swayed here with the control group. Then there are two other groups of 70-plus-year-olds. One group was asked to start exercising for long sessions, like 50 minutes or more, twice a week. So this is like long, sustained exercise.
Yeah.
And then the third group was asked to start HIIT training, which is high intensity interval training.
Yeah. Okay.
Twice weekly, high intensity interval training, which is basically like jogging, cycling, or doing something strenuous for 4 minutes, followed by 4 minutes of rest, and then repeating that sequence 4 times.
Yeah.
So you go hard for 4 minutes, you rest for 4 minutes, and you repeat that 4 times.
It's like those P90Xs and stuff like that. They're all based on the high intensity interval training.
Exactly. And they only had to do it twice a week. Only twice a week, but that's what they were doing. Okay. And then they kept up this exercise routine for 5 years. So this is a scientific study that lasted 5 years, which pretty long time for these kinds of studies, right?
And then they murdered all of them.
And then, of course, they had to euthanize all of them to study their bones.
Yes. How are these old bones doing?
It turned out there's literally no difference in any of their bones. It was a really sad study. Didn't change bones at all.
Yeah, bones were same.
No, so they checked in regularly over that 5-year span. They had check-ins, they had tests, they had supervised group workouts, very active study. And the scientists, they noted that some of the people in the control group, like they didn't completely stick to their training regimen. They kind of did some of the interval training at local gyms. So there was a little bit of, it wasn't completely rigorous, the staying in your lane. There were some of the groups that were. Did I lose you? Oh no,
no,
you're there.
I'm here.
Okay. Some of the groups that were doing other things. So it's not perfectly scientific, but much closer than any of the observational studies to date. So the results are not wildly different, but definitely perceivable. So it turns out that the high intensity interval training group, they were about 2% less likely to have died than those in the control group. So 2% less likely to have died over 5 years, and 3% less likely to die than the longer moderate exercise group. It turns out that the moderate exercise, the people that were asked to exercise 50 or more minutes per exercise session, died more than the control group.
That's fascinating. That goes very counter to everything we've heard. But my immediate question is, this was just done over 5 years toward the end of life.
Right.
How does it change over time if you do it, when you're younger, when your physiology is different?
Right.
Because certainly, like we've read a lot of stuff about how end of life, it's more important to do like heavy weightlifting and things like that because you're more likely to lose muscle.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like bone density and things like that. So I'm wondering, and I'm sure you're about to tell me all of these things, Jeff, but I am wondering what this means over a 5-year period at the end of life versus the entire life.
Well, that's the question, right? Because we don't have the data of, a 30-year study where somebody starts in their 40s and exercises in a specific way consistently for decades, right? We don't have that data. And even a 5-year study is a pretty long study in scientific terms, right? That's a long period between starting it and publishing the paper. So we don't have that information, but it is, I think the scientists here in Trondheim extrapolate their findings and seem to believe that it can be even more significant if it is started earlier, right? Their conclusion is that high intensity interval training, short bursts of very active exercise is better for you than any other type of exercise. Like that is what will add to the longevity of your lifespan.
They believe that's going to bear out no matter when you start exercising. That's fascinating.
Yes. And they also, the subjective part of the report was that the men and women who did the interval training were much more likely to describe gains in quality of life. Like the people that were in the control group and the people that did the longer sustained exercise did not report a subjective feeling of improvement in their lives as much as the high intensity interval training group did.
Huh. I find that incredibly fascinating for a few reasons. I mean, number one being like, look, I know a lot of people who spend a lot of time during the week, or at least, did before this year. Maybe some of them still are, but I knew a lot of people that spend a lot of their time exercising. Right.
Right.
And one of the things that we all talk about when we talk about exercising is, God damn, it can get so boring. You do long distance running. Long distance running can get so boring. And if it winds up not, I mean, I'm sure there's some value. I mean, I'm sure I find it weird that the people who are doing some exercise are dropping dead, more than the people who are doing nothing. But what does that make you think about the way you exercise and how much time you spend exercising?
Yeah.
Is that likely to make you change?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I feel like this points to the idea of, we know that people who spend a little bit of time exercising a week live longer than people that don't. But the surprising thing is the people that spend a little time exercising a week live longer than the people that spend a lot of time exercising a week, right? There's a sweet spot. There's a Goldilocks zone that it push your body hard for short bursts, ask of it a lot, a little bit of time. Yeah. And that actually is better for you than like constant fatiguing exercise. I find that to be really heartening, actually, because not only does it seem achievable, right? It seems like a much more reasonable thing to try to do regularly,
But can I tell you what I'm thinking?
What?
some of the people I know that start working out and start doing the high intensity interval stuff, the stuff that is kind of more like your P90Xs and things like that, or any of these like sort of CrossFit programs, which CrossFit is a type of high intensity interval training, but study after study has said, don't do CrossFit. So don't do CrossFit. But
because you turn into a real douche.
Because not only do you turn into a douche, you literally break and tear everything. It's actually a terrible way to work out. But one of the things that I think is high intensity is a big ask for a lot of people, and a lot of people don't know just how high intensity is. And I think most people would rather jog for a half hour than go just like all out to the wall, crazy, like pushing your body to the limit. Cause that really, like, a lot of people are like, this is unpleasant.
That's true.
I hate
That's a good
this.
point. But I think that
it's like the people you see in the gym every day where you're like, you could probably be doing that exercise with like 30 pounds more weight, but you just want to be moving and like reading a magazine right now.
Yeah. You're here because being here checks a box.
Yeah. And they are doing work. I'm not saying those people aren't doing work, but that's an easier thing to accept because it is more low effort and it doesn't require as much strain. And I think like physical and honestly, sometimes mental and emotional pain that high intensity takes.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you're not wrong, but I think the 4 minutes on, 4 minutes off, 4 times for 2 times a week, that seems really doable.
That's true.
That seems like a really achievable goal.
Do they say specifically what the high intensity exercises were for that group?
They said it could be cycling or jogging at a strenuous pace.
Okay.
That's what they did for these septuagenarians,
That's
so
not too
4
bad.
minutes of like going hard and like it's basically getting your heart rate up.
Yeah.
Like, get your heart rate up, and that's really what they're saying is it's about asking your heart to work hard, but not asking your heart to work hard for an hour. It's like ask your heart to work hard for 4 minutes, give it a break, and do that over periods of time. And it's like working out your muscle, your heart muscle.
It's like interesting because it's about finding the peak performance, like the ROI, like the peak.
Exactly.
So it's like thinking about it in terms of things I've been doing lately, undervolting your video card. Just a little bit, right? Because
it's min-maxing.
So you undervolt your video card because even though your video card could get another 4% performance, if you undervolt it and lose 4% performance, you actually get a lot of gains in terms of like how much power it uses, how much heat it gives off, like all of that stuff. So it's about finding like that sort of thing. It's like, you want to work your hard enough to be strong, but you don't want to strain it. It's like when you tell me about how you feel after a marathon where you're like, oh, you're not supposed to do this.
Yeah, right. Yes.
like you, my sister also like you runs marathons and she says the same thing that you do where it's like, oh no, I can feel how terrible this is for me. This is something you do once or twice or every so often, just so because you want to know that you can accomplish this thing, but it's not something you necessarily do for health, which I think is a big.
No, when I read about Eddie Izzard doing, like 30 marathons in 30 days or something, it's like, oh, she is destroying her body. That is, anyway.
Yeah, you should not be doing that. And Eddie Izzard specifically should not be doing that because she's an international treasure and we can't afford to lose her.
That's exactly right.
We must protect Eddie Izzard at all costs.
The other interesting piece of information in this study is that, they said, of course, that exercise is not a panacea, right? It's not this magical pill that makes you not die, right? People in all the groups still died. All the groups got sick. In all the groups had other health issues.
Jeff, why am I going to the gym if I'm going to die?
That's a good
Jeff,
point.
Let's
have the bonbons.
Hey, Jeff, that's stupid.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm still
Why
mortal.
We're wasting that time.
That's ridiculous. That's garbage.
Out of 1,500 people that they over 1,500 people here, not a single one died while exercising. I think that's pretty good.
Yeah. You'd think at least one of them would drop dead.
Yeah, if they're asking them to go hard for 4 minutes, 4 times, like I think the odds are one of them's going to keel over during that situation.
One of those septuagenarians you would figure would grab the old left arm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, not a single one.
I think that's pretty cool. I like this because here are a couple of reasons why I like this. Putting aside the new year, like, listen, hey, what is it? When this episode comes out, it's actually the first. It's the first day of the new year when this episode. Hey, Happy New Year!
Happy New Year.
Here's the thing. Other than the pressure of the new year, where everybody's like, I got to get in shape, I got to change everything for the better. It's a new year. Hey, shut up. That's arbitrary. We created that. You'll be fine. Don't worry. Just achieve your goals on your own time, on your own schedule. But in the global situation that we're in right now, 4 minutes on and off, that's, we're talking about, a half an hour a day, 32 minutes,
it's only twice a week,
32 minutes a day, twice a week. Knowing that that's optimal makes exercising during what we're going through right now feel a lot less insurmountable.
Yeah, I agree. And to me, the most encouraging part about this isn't the longevity side, although that's nice. It's the subjective feeling that their lives are better, right? They asked all of these people, how do you feel after 5 years of doing this? And overwhelmingly, the people who did the high intensity training had the biggest improvements, the biggest gains in reported quality of life.
See,
that's big. That to me is the most persuasive part of it.
I love that. And because there is, and it kind of factors in with different workout regimens and physical fitness regimens that I've done in my life, where like I definitely felt better going to the gym 3 times a week for like 30 to 40 minutes, doing those supersets. Like I was essentially doing, high intensity interval training. I felt better doing that than I did the 90 days that I did P90X to like quote unquote jumpstart my fitness. I felt miserable during like those days made me feel just tired and sore and awful and exhausted. And I didn't really feel like by the end of the 90 days, did I look a little better? Yeah, I looked a little better, but I wouldn't say that they immediately made me feel healthier.
Right.
I would never say that.
Those bursts are not sustainable, right? You do something that you want to just survive to the end of, and then you find reasons to not do it eventually, But if it's a manageable amount of time, it seems like maybe it's sustainable in a way that the longer and more intense and more frequent workouts aren't.
Do you know, I wonder what it is culturally, particularly here in the States, because I can only really talk culturally about being a citizen of the US, but I wonder what it is, and if it's just capitalism and long work days or what that makes us feel like in order to get any value out of anything, we have to put a long, hard day into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because every study I've ever read about anything that I'm interested in, whether it's physical fitness like this, whether it's learning a language, learning an instrument, any sort of improvement, even meditation, it's like, hey, you don't need to put hours into this. If you do 20 to 30 minutes a day of this thing, you will get more gains, better gains. You will feel better about it. You will retain it more than if you put an entire day into it.
Even
and
work.
I think that's wild.
Even work. We're like, especially in this country, we're addicted to work. And there are so many studies that show you work fewer hours in a day, give yourself more breaks and rest, and take actual vacation time during the year, you end up being far more productive than just powering through and nose to the grindstone constantly. It's so bass backwards in this country. It's like we think we just push harder, and that doesn't actually result in better or better results.
No, it just winds up with you feeling a little bit more like you let yourself down.
Yeah.
That's what it does. Or if you're at work, it makes you feel a little bit more like you let, somebody else down. Yeah, I think this is fascinating. I think that's something that maybe I want to keep in mind going forward. I was going to say this year, but hey, listen, we don't have to worry about January 1st. It's an arbitrary day. We created it. But that's something that I do want to keep in mind a little bit more is like, hey, do this for a half hour a day and you'll get better at it and you'll feel better about it. Not just the things you have to do, like learn to put things down after a half an hour, but learn to pick up the things that will make you happy for at least a half an hour every day.
Right. Yeah.
Now you can't do that because you have children, so you can't do anything you want ever.
No. Yeah, none of this applies to me.
No, it doesn't apply to you. Here you are with your children at the twilight of your life. None of this applies to you. But for those of you who are out there who are still alive, like me, there's still hope for you.
If there's still breath in your lungs and it hasn't been stolen by tiny people who just extract your life force, not for their own gain, but just for fun. Just for fun.
Hey, they just do. They don't even know they're doing it. They just do. They can't conceive of anything else.
If I am ever at any point horizontal in my house anywhere, they will find me and leap onto my body in an attempt to harm me. They're not doing it for fun. They're doing it to harm me.
Oh yeah, the thing where kids they want to make you do the sound where you hurt. Yeah, they're like, we hurt Dad.
I have revealed a vulnerability by lying down, and they will exploit it to my detriment.
Wow.
That's the game. That's the game.
You know, it's just a magical and rewarding thing that you're doing, and I'm glad.
Yeah, it's killing me.
I truly envy you. I truly do.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Yeah.
Hey, concerned citizens, have you been keeping up with any sort of fitness this year? You didn't have to. Hey, you didn't have to. Yeah. We're just making conversation. You don't have to feel good or bad about yourself for any amount of fitness, physical fitness or activity that you got this year. It's been a weird year.
Yeah, but maybe this story helps take the pressure off a little bit and realize you can do, just do a little bit. Yeah. Just do some manageable bit and you can feel better about yourself and be healthier.
Yeah,
let us. Cool.
Yeah, and if you want, share with us what you're planning on doing this year. Any things that you've been thinking about, stuff that you'd like to take on for a half hour a day, and maybe let us know on the Discord if you're there. And if you're not on the Discord, any patron of any support level can join it and join in the conversation. That's patreon.com/wehaveconcerns. And hey, can we just say, and I know it's fucking this year, but hey, Happy New Year. You made it.
You made it.
You fucking made it.
There's no guarantee this year's going to be better than the last, but let's hope, right?
Listen, we went through a real hard year. In every single person in the world went through a real hard year last year. And you made it. And you did it, and we're on to the next. And we want to say thank you to all of you who have been listening, who have been sharing links and talking about the show and supporting the Patreon and just
it's amazing.
Yeah. Just being a part of this community this year. It's meant a lot to us.
Yeah. This is the year we brought the show back.
Yeah. And
it was cool. And we appreciate being welcomed back with open arms. And the fact that this community is still here and vibrant and thriving is just a testament to all of you. So thank you and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everybody. Punch an octopus. They deserve it. That's high intensity interval training is boxing an octopus.
That is what it is.
That's the highest intensity interval training you can do.